Ah, we are live. Hello, everybody. See, there are a bunch of people already watching on YouTube. That's really nice. Thank you for coming. And probably we're going to have a few people on Facebook as well, but Facebook doesn't tell me. What, little man? Banjo the Studio Cat is excited too. And so yesterday I tried to do this stream that I'm doing today, and we did have a few problems. Let me just check. The sound is maybe a little low. Internet connection problems. So I actually couldn't stream at all. It was breaking up and it was too bad. Today looks an awful lot better. The stream looks stable. I've got a nice steady, for anyone who's interested in this technical minutiae, a nice steady 4,000 kilobits per second. So hopefully you can see me, and hopefully you can see me all right, but of course you can hear me all right, but I don't know. So if you're watching, please just pop a little note in the comments in the live chat on if you're watching on YouTube, or in the comments underneath the video on Facebook, just so I know you're there and that you can hear me and you can see me okay. That would be brilliant. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so yes, we're here. Oh, loads of people are in there. I had the wrong chat up. Beatbop, what a brilliant name. Hello, Michelle, nice to see you. Hello, Brenda, good to see you. Kamlesh, nice to see you. Hi, Johnny. Hi, Fran. Lots of people here. Yay! Everybody's on YouTube who's messaging me at the moment. That's nice to see, though, that I'm getting through and people can see me. Sometimes I don't know what it is. Facebook doesn't. I use this streaming software that hooks up to YouTube and Facebook at the same time, and Facebook's a little bit flaky. YouTube is better. Right. So where are we today? This painting has had 2 sessions on it, both of which I think were live. Maybe only one of them was live. I can't remember now. Anyway, so this is a kind of a bit of an experiment, this painting. So I did a wipeout underpainting of it, of the original subject. I'll show you what the original subject was, because it had a slightly different reference photo that I started with. This one, with the apple. It's almost the same. And what drew me to this was mostly the jug, and because the jug, the light part of this enamel jug here, with the light of the apple and the light here on the cloth, it made a nice arrangement of shapes. Blurred all the edges of this, so this is kind of all one shape, really. Yes, there's variation in it, but it's all one shape. But I've been looking at this a lot, and I don't like the apple. I didn't like the apple. I didn't like the colour. I wasn't sure what I didn't like about it, but I decided I didn't like it. And then I was in the local farm shop the other day. Yeah, 4K. Brilliant, huh? It's not actually like 4K. That's the bit rate. So I only stream in 1080p. I need some better kit to stream in 4K. Anyway. Rika, thank you very much. I'm good in Denmark. That's great to hear. It sounds like I'm good in Ontario as well. Is it Ontario or Ontario? And Debbie says hello from Auburn. What does WA stand for? I should totally know this. If I thought about it long enough, I could probably figure it out. I'm not going to get there. Tell me what WA stands for, Debbie. Anyway, wherever that is, sounds like the stream is all right there. So yeah, I am deliberately trying to keep this painting open to possibilities. So where we are now with it is I decided I didn't like the apple. So I was in the farm shop the other day, and they had some quinces, the first quinces of the season. I mean, they're just brilliant quinces. They're such a lumpy, ugly, beautiful fruit. Newcastle, Rob, brilliant. Rob from Newcastle is here. And B from Australia. Very cool. It must be very early in Australia. I'm very impressed that you're up at this time. Iceland, that's impressive. One of these days I'm going to Iceland. I've got to see that country, it just looks amazing. So what this all is about is opening up paintings to possibilities and the unexpected. So I'm going to take out this apple, I'm going to put in the quince. I'm also going to distress this surface further because, you know, what I'm trying to do with this at the moment is not just like, I don't want my painting to bore me. I don't want to make a painting and here we go. Just gradually refine it to an ever closer translation of the reference photo. So what am I doing at the moment? I'm scraping it with an X-Acto knife. This is something I've started doing lately, and it seems like violence to the picture, but actually there is some method behind it because I'm only doing this in the light areas. It adds texture and life, and it also destroys the edges. It changes the value, and it stops me being really precious about what I'm doing. So I'm not just trying to refine this gradually to a finish. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with approaching painting that way, by the way. This is just about aesthetic choices. And the aesthetic choices that I'm making lately are mostly to do with me not being bored by my painting. Steel wool. This has got to go. Here we're going to have, actually let's use some sandpaper there. This is quite rough sandpaper. Here we're going to have our quince. So I'm going to, rather than painting this, I'm going to start deciding where the light areas are. We want to be about there. There's going to be a light area. You know, and this seems like madness, I know, like attacking a painting with sandpaper, and there's going to be a light area down here. Sandpaper, knives, steel wool. Why would you do that? Banjo knows. He said meow, but what he's telling me is, Paul, you did it because it opens up the painting to more possibilities. So this is all going to be kind of glazed over very shortly. I love the effect of this. I'm going to glaze over this whole thing, and then I'm going to start painting in, to begin with, probably just the quince and the leaves, you know, just kind of block them in kind of slowly and carefully. You can kind of almost control the, well, you can, it's not almost, you can control the values with the sandpaper just by scraping back. Kamlesh, this is, the surface is an ampersand gesso board. So when I paint over this again, when I glaze over it, there'll be a kind of an effect of almost a glow in the lights. So I'm sanding much more in the lights to add texture. I'm not doing it so much in the dark areas. What is it, little man? Banjo he sleeps a lot now because he's my studio cat. He's about 20. And he sleeps on this big floor cushion that I have for him in the studio, and then he wakes up. I think it's something to do with he knows, he's got some kind of sixth sense for when I'm streaming, and he wakes up and starts complaining. All right, I think that will probably do for now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wipe over this with some kitchen roll dipped in a little terps. And the reason I'm doing this is just to take off any bits, because I don't want bits in the paint layer. I want this effect. I want the texture. I want the life. And I want all the possibilities, but I don't want bits of scraped off paint in my paint layer. That's good. And then I'm going to oil this out. So I'm going to put an oil layer, very thin oil layer over it. With a mix of linseed oil and terps. This is like the fun part. It's also scary, you know. I mean, even at this stage, it's starting to introduce possibilities that weren't there before, you know. This is changing the values a little bit because it was quite severely sunken in, because it was 2 layers, both of which were painted into an oil layer. So another thing I've started doing a lot lately is working in multiple layers. And you can get the most amazing effects with oil paint working in layers that you can't really get any other way. Like some areas of this painting will be like the original underpainting will still be showing through. Some of it will be very, very finished, and some of it won't be finished at all. Some of it will be left really, really vague. So I want a nice thin layer of oil to work into. And I'm going to glaze over this. So where this has gone so far, I've deliberately pulled it towards green and blue. It was a decision that I made in the second session to pull it away from the exact colors of the reference photo, although obviously I'm going to keep the drawing pretty accurate. I'm going to keep the value balance, hopefully so that at least it makes sense. So there's a lot of things people talk about. If you look up online, I haven't done this for a long time, but I did a while ago, a few times, what advice there was out there for people who want to loosen up their painting. And I saw a lot of stuff like paint upside down, paint with your non-dominant hand. You know, I mean, fair enough. I mean, maybe there are useful things from those techniques that you could get from them. I don't know, but this is not that. This is not about removing skill from the equation. It's about opening up possibilities. So some parts of this painting, especially towards the end, will be very carefully finished. Let me try and catch up. Hello, Krista. Nice to see you. Haven't heard from you for a long time. Hi, Anita. This is lovely. Lots of people are watching today. Hello, Jane from Kansas. Brilliant. So yeah, what I'm doing at the moment, I mean, this is me experimenting live, basically. I'm not teaching now, and this is me in the studio painting. So I've been missing doing this. There was a time when I used to do a lot of this just live streaming. And I keep thinking that I need to get back to it more because it's invigorating. I love making connections with people. I like sharing what I'm doing, even when I'm working things out as I go. This is steel wool. I shouldn't really have that on there because I've put the oil on. So I think I'm going to start doing more of that right now. So I might not explain everything very well that I'm doing today because I don't actually know how this is going to go. I want to put a glaze over this that I'm then going to work back into. I think it's already gone like quite a long way from where it needed to be. I think I'm feeling like putting a light-ish neutral, near neutral glaze over the whole thing, knock the chroma back a little bit. Because obviously the hue of this is very different from the hue of the reference photo, but that's a deliberate thing. I wonder what would happen. Studio cat, he's gone out and now he wants back in again. I haven't actually tried this to put a very light glaze over. You coming in? Come on then, little man. Now this is the point where he sits at the studio door and meows at me. Come on in then. He's just going to sit there. Let's just do this and see what happens. Might not do it over the whole thing. Very, very rough, slightly ruined brush. So much of this I'm going to wipe off. You know, so rather than like carefully drawing out and then painting over where the quince is going to go, I'm effectively kind of destroying what's there at the moment to an extent, which will free me up a little bit to decide about where the quince is going to go. It will give me another layer, another bit of depth. And I've used a very low chroma because I don't, almost neutral, because I don't want to add any more chroma at this point. I know, little man. Start working out where some of the darks were. So I'll glaze back into probably the dark areas again. I know. What is it? Hey, what is it, little man? Everything is disappearing behind a veil. You know, I think I'm going to do with the quince, I'm going to start going in there with, let's keep that, that's like about a value 6 probably. I'm going to go in there with fairly natural color with the quince. In this reference photo, I have already affected it a little bit. I've dropped the chroma quite a long way from where it was. Hello, Lisa. Nice to see you. Let me catch up on a couple of comments. From Portugal, cool. DK says, do you plan on repeating the scraping and sanding process again after you've added more paint and let it dry? I don't know at this point. Maybe, possibly. It depends on whether I like the texture or not and how many layers it's going to go into. I don't really know yet. But I like the fact that this is all disappearing behind this veil now. And I can then paint back into this. If nothing else, it's opened up the possibilities an awful lot more. So if I want to, let's think about color for the quince. I'm going to go in with fairly natural color, and I'm wondering how this would work if a lot of this painting is kind of disappearing like this and the quince is over the top looking fairly natural. What's this? Bright yellow lake. Arylide yellow is high chroma. Greenish yellow. I know I want to be in the realm of greenish yellows. Let's have some green gold and some yellow ochre. So I'm choosing these colors based on the colors that the quince actually is. I'm only going to mix a dark and a light color for it. I don't want to spend ages doing a really careful drawing of it and then only to find that I don't like how it looks in the painting. Should you try this at home? Yeah. I think so. I think so. Because I actually taught some of what I'm doing here in perhaps a slightly less extreme way in a workshop recently. And I don't think I'm overcooking things to say that there were some quite transformational results for some people during that workshop. So mixing the light area, so I want a general color for the light area of the quince. Lead white, arylide yellow, raw umber. I know I can check from the photo roughly what it is value-wise, so I can get very close to the values if I want to. Good general value for the light areas is like a 7. In terms of the Munsell scale, you know, this is what I use, the Munsell scale. So let's say I want to be like around a value 7. Maybe 6 to a 7. I think we'll go in with about a 7. I think that's a bit green. So let's have a more orange version. So this is yellow ochre, which I know is about a value 5. So I'm going to bring that up to a 7 with white. So the values are the same. Anyone who's learned with me on workshops and done color mixing with me will be familiar with this. Like, you know, I'm not chucking paint around here. I'm being pretty careful about the mixes. So that's more orange. If I go between the two, that seems pretty good. I'm less bothered about the perfect hue than I am about getting the value and the chroma in about the right place. So that's a 7. I'll keep that back just in case. Let's mix the shadow color. Now I want to be about a value 3. I'm keeping the chromas low. That's about a value 3. So the value is about in the right place, I think. I don't think that's enough chroma though. I think it's too yellow. So what happens with like a greenish yellow like this, when it, in indoor light anyway, indoor natural light like this, when it goes from, when the color travels from the light, where it's a greenish yellow, into the shadow, the value drops obviously. For this, which is like a middle chroma, the chroma will stay about the same, but it will go more orange, more towards orange, and mine isn't at the moment. Mine is staying, from looking at it, it's staying towards the green. So this is transparent red oxide, which is a low chroma. Sorry, a low value, high chroma, orange red. Some of that with the arylide yellow will be, I've lost too much chroma and I've gone too green. So I'm mixing a higher chroma, like an orangey color of about the right value, which I can, let's just try a little bit of this with that and see where we go. Should bring the chroma up, but send it a little bit more orange. It'll still look right in the painting. But the hue will, are we still a value 3? Yeah, the hue will go, I think maybe that's a little bit too low in value. Want more of this orange color too. Hues, the hue will go more towards orange in the shadows. Will swing a little bit. But I think what's interesting me a lot more about color these days is understanding those general principles and then seeing what happens if I deliberately change the colors. As long as I keep the general principles of how color works from light to shadow intact, should be able to get some interesting results. So we're about a value 3 still. Maybe going a little bit too orange now. I've got a couple of possibilities anyway. I've got a very greenish color and I've got a more orange-ish one. So I can move between those. They're about the same value. The chroma isn't especially high. Middle chroma. So this is pretty good for the light, I think. I've made all. Oh, just walked into my camera. I've made all of the values overall very light, so that's not going to stand out too strongly, but it looks interesting where it's sitting in the value range there. And then there's the next light. These are the light areas of the quince. So I'm just trying to put them in just shapes. Very kind of loose at this point. But loose, but hopefully reasonably accurately in the right place. Shadow color, I'm going to kind of scumble this on a little bit more. So this would be more chroma and lower in value than most of what's in the painting at the moment. Just feeling my way in. So hopefully you can see, like, color-wise, in relation to the reference photo, this is pretty close. So I wanted to see what would happen if I kept the color of the quince pretty close to what it should be, accurate to what it really is, and then a little bit freer with the rest. So squinting down, that's looking probably about right. I'm going to, I'll call this back a little bit, blend it in a bit. I can find my favorite blending brush. This is these are great for blending. This is Winsor & Newton Scepter Gold, series 606. I think this is quite an old one, semi-synthetic. So I'm not trying to paint anything in particular. I'm just trying to look at shapes. Let me have a quick check on the comments. Hello, Holly. In Key Largo. I've been there. Long time ago. Stop, says Suzanne. Hello, Heather. Nice to see you. Suzanne says, what about the gesso primer destroyed? No. I mean, if the primer would be destroyed if I went right through to the hardboard underneath. I'm not doing that. I mean, the scratches seems like incredibly violent, but it's not going down through the primer to the hardboard, no. Hello, Sanchita. New Orleans. I've always wanted to go there. Hello, Maria. Hi, Brenda. Good to see you. So where are we now? I'm thinking about the leaves. I'm thinking about the shapes of the leaves. So I guess what I'm trying to stay sort of sensitive to here is how these shapes are working as a whole in the kind of the abstract design of the piece. That would be nice. Come to New Orleans. I don't know, it's one of those places I've always been curious about. I think because a long time ago I discovered the meters, and I was obsessively used to listen obsessively to the meters for a while. I love that music. And it always seemed like, I mean, it's the birthplace of jazz, isn't it? It seemed like it was always a really interesting place, a melting pot. Right, I want a green, so I've got black, I've got arrowlight yellow. I want to start off with a low value green for the leaves. What am I going to do with the leaves? Am I going to do the colours fairly close or not? I don't know. I'm probably going to keep the chrome a little bit lower. So arrowlight yellow like this. This is bright yellow lake. I forget what the pigment is. Let me have a look. This is Michael Harding, PY3, diarylide, diarylimide. Oh, I can't say that. Anyway, it's an arrowlight yellow. Hansa yellow is also an arrowlight yellow. Do I want to push that or towards blue? No, I don't think I do. So this is going to be absolutely the darkest value in the painting at the moment. And for leaves, I usually use synthetic. So this is a Rosemary's Angled Eclipse. I just want to be painting shapes. So there is a leaf shape that comes across here, across the side of the jug. Shadow, leaf in shadow. Comes down to the top of the quince. There's one of the things I really like about quinces is the leaves are very kind of architectural, and they're really nice compositionally. So I'm still just trying to concentrate on shapes mostly. Not try to worry too much about the things that I'm painting so that I don't get too wrapped up in details, and I'm still keeping the possibilities are very open about where it's going to go. And there's that light leaf shape, which is really nice. It's a light greenish yellow. Beat bop, you are absolutely right. Hello, Lynn. Hello, Natalie. Nice to see you. Music, food, great people, history, and culture. Whoa. That all sounds really good. New Orleans. Red beans and rice. Gumbo. I've probably got this cartoon image of what New Orleans really is in my mind. It's probably nothing like that in reality. This is very low chroma, very yellowish. So this is like for the back of the leaf. It's very low chroma, like this shape here. It's a low chroma green. I'm putting in lead white. So the underpainting was done with lead white, raw umber, and black. So what I've got on my palette at the moment is quite restricted. I mean, I'm just putting in the colors that I think I'm going to use. I've got lead white, arrowlide yellow, yellow ochre, green gold, Michael Harding green gold, transparent red oxide, raw umber and black. Is that about the right value? Don't think it's green enough. But what's the value there? Like a 7. No, it's pretty close. Let's check the values. So I'm very, very careful about my values when I want to be. That's pretty much bang on the value 7. Feels like it's maybe a little bit gone too far towards orange. I'm going to bring in a little bit of black, which is basically blue. With arrowlide yellow, which will make it turn it into a green. And then white to bring it up to value 7, so it will be very low chroma. Similarly low chroma, but closer to a bluish green. What do I think of that color there? I need a light synthetic for the lights. So although I retook this photo, you know, with the same jug and the quince in it, but actually I had moved everything and I'd taken a couple of photos, had some other stuff set up on the still life table. So the jug isn't in exactly the same place in this photo as it was in the first one. But in the spirit of accepting the unexpected, I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. I have a nice shadow beside that. So I tend to work a lot these days with color. I work a lot with very simplified color to start with. A general light and a general shadow. This is just for when I'm working for myself, not when I'm teaching. And when I paint for myself, I tend to work rather differently than when I'm teaching. General light and a general shadow, and I know that I can extrapolate everything else I want from there. So there's a question coming up now, and it's like some of the values of the jug are as low or lower than the values of the leaves. So what, you know, I kind of would need to be addressing pretty soon what I'm going to do about that. Am I going to bring the values of the jug back down? Am I going to bring the values of some areas of the jug back down? And leave other parts like kind of almost disappearing? I'm going to have to decide. But the thing is, you know, as I've started to open up possibilities in the way I paint a little bit more lately, gradually a kind of confidence grows that even if I end up doing something that I'm not happy with, I know I can always pull it back. I can wipe it off and scrape it off if I'm not happy with it. Change it entirely. So I'm just going mostly for the values here of the leaf shapes. Squinting down a lot and trying to paint simplified shape of about the right value. And then if I get it right, if I do a good enough job of it, the leaves will eventually appear of their own accord. But I now I'm looking at this area of the quince. I'm thinking that I would like putting this quince in now. I think I would like it to be very, very carefully finished in some areas, because I like painting which has areas which are very loose and then some which are very highly finished. Shadow. This quince needs a shadow. It needs a cast shadow. Don't worry, Benita, there is no late for live streams. I just bang the cameras on when I'm doing these things and I paint and I talk about what I'm doing. I've got New Orleans in my mind a lot at the moment because we started talking about it. There's another musician I know of from down there. What's she called? She's a cellist. Amazing cellist. From somewhere around that way. Layla McCalla. She does some Cajun music. She's a bit classically trained as well. I think this is looking very interesting. I want a cast shadow on my I want there to feel like that there's a cast shadow behind the quince, and that's going to help it. It's going to help anchor it onto the table. Now I happen to know this cloth pretty well. The value I want there is about a value 3. This is raw umber and white. I'm going to add a little black, so it's going to be close to neutral, but it will have a little bit of chroma in it. So this cloth, this particular cloth, I know what the colors actually are because I painted it so many times in this light, in this studio. The lights tend towards purple blue with very low chroma, and the shadows tend towards what we'd call in Munsell terms a 10YR. Yellow orange, very low chroma though. I think the brushes that you choose to paint areas with can make a big difference in how it feels. Like I'm mostly veer between, I'm looking for a particular brush now, which I like for shadows because I want this to be smooth. I tend to vary between very textural kind of hogs, some of them quite worn, which are some of my favorites, and then more softer synthetics. So the cast shadow there it's roughly, if I squint down, there's not an awful lot of difference between the cast shadow area and the shadow of the shadow side of the quince. In fact, the shadow side of the quince is a little darker here than the cast shadow. So let's bring those together into one there. So I'm waiting for an impression of depth and light to come out of it. Hoping might be a better word. I'm hoping it's going to appear at some point, but I don't really know yet. Here's my quince shadow brush. Going to have a slightly lower value quince shadow colour just here. Oh, is that me, or did my palette camera just go purple then for a minute? Never done that before, very interesting. Not what I was expecting, hopefully it won't do it again. Bring out these forms a little bit more, with a slightly lower value in the shadow in places. And I want an occlusion shadow just here. Darkest part of the shadow where no light gets. And that really helps anchor something to a surface. Lighter areas of the quince, starting to create a bit of an impression of form now. So there's a highlight on the jug here. And it's one of the things that I noticed that's different about this reference photo than the last one. I'm not sure why, but the pattern of highlights on the side of the body of the jug is very different on this photo. I'll show you. That's lovely. Andrea says, as I've become a bit more confident in oil painting, I find that I don't hesitate to rub out, repaint over, and change things without hesitation. Yeah. Especially after viewing for a bit and notice areas. Yeah, I think that's a good way to approach things. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, look at the highlight on the side of the body of the jug. This is the original photo. This is the one I'm working from now. Same jug. Interesting, huh? I'm putting these highlights in because I find that they're an important part of the value balance. Because I was putting some highlights in on the quince here, I want to make sure that these highlights here on the jug are the highest value areas. And also I want to see what happens when I put them in. This is going in an interesting direction. I wasn't expecting any of this that's happening at the moment, really, today. But that's kind of the point. I think I'm a lot happier with that blue of the jug now that it's now that I've taken the apple out. There was just something about it I threw it together as something to experiment with, so I didn't put as much thought as I usually do into the subject, the setup. And then I'm looking for something, I'm not sure what. And then I decided that actually this painting might go somewhere, but not with that apple in it. I want some blue. What have I got here? What's this? Phthalocyanine blue. Ooh, exciting. Go everywhere. Let's see if I've got some ultramarine as well. That's that'd be greenish blue. Very transparent, which I do like. I do like transparent. And I've got some, what's this? Windsor violet, which is probably a dioxazine purple. Pigment PV23. And safflower oil. Can't find any ultramarine. Probably because I so rarely paint with blue. I don't know why. I just never seem to pick blue things to paint. It's nice. It's heading slightly towards green. This Windsor violet, I think it's probably just dioxazine purple. It seems to have a lot of chroma, heading more towards red. So I could find something in between them if I wanted to. I wonder, no, I want a smooth brush. I think. Actually, no, I have a big hog. So I'm just thinking about putting a little bit of glaze in. Let's put some black because I don't want the chroma to be overpowering. Some white in, knock the chroma down. Sorry, I'm aware that I've gone very quiet. Just trying to figure some stuff out about where some of it is going to go. I don't really know yet. But something just started happening there in there that I thought I liked. There's something about this shape in the jug where there's the reflection with a sharp edge just before we hit the highlight, and it goes right over into the leaves. It's very interesting. Oh, sorry about that. One of my camera tripods just fell over. That would be the one that I kicked a couple of times, I should think. For some reason, I'd set up one of the cameras directly behind me. I don't actually have that one turned on, so it didn't need to be there. And I walked back to look at what I'm doing and walked into it twice. Oh, now we've got camera problems. Something interesting going on about the color that I think I like at the moment. I like this quince much more against the blue of the jug. I'm happier to have more of the blue of the jug in now. But I want this, I want the jug to be kind of mostly suggested apart from this area, but I want it to be kind of not overstated, this area here. You know, that light, that's a big part of the painting for me, is this light shape here. I'm going to go over that a little bit, but not too intensely. So I should probably explain, I don't know, I probably have already, but just in case, that what I'm doing at the moment is stepping outside of my normal process a little bit to see what I might find if I do. And I have a vague impression of a look and a feel that I want to move towards, feeling that I want to move towards. And trying to work out what might get me there. It's probably the best way I could describe it at the moment. But one thing I am pretty sure of is that I'm very much letting go of trying to make something which is a very accurate, almost like a copy of the reference photo. I don't mind so much about that now. I found that increasingly I was getting bored by, uninspired probably is a better way to put it, of the paintings that I was doing that were becoming more and more finished and refined, you might say, and it felt to me like there was something really missing, that I needed to find a way to get that back in there. And it's a lot of it is, there's, you know, the life was going out of them. This is not to say that I'm at all criticizing people who do work in a very fine and finished way. I'm not. It's my own personal aesthetic sensibilities, if you like, coming out a little bit more lately. And it's also a really good way to get yourself unstuck. I find. If you're feeling a little bit uninspired. And I'm interested in what can be brought out of painting, which is more than just I shouldn't use the word just, but is more than like a replication of appearances. So I'm finding like towards the beginning areas of a painting, the beginning stages of a painting, I should say, like I'm at with this one now. I don't really know how it's going to look when it finishes. Probably be quite different from how it is at the moment. So I'm trying to keep a lot more possibilities open and being a lot more, I suppose, daring than I would normally be, like, but in a careful way. I'm not just flinging things on for the sake of it. I think it's probably fair to say it's a slightly more intuitive way of working. I like the quince more. I like the arrangement of shapes a lot more with the quince than I did with the apple, and the colours more as well. It's like there was too much going on with the apple having red in it as well. So I'm gradually pulling the jug back out of the vagueness. But I haven't gone anywhere near like as low in the values as it could go yet. See this, I like this shape and this here. I want to bring out a little bit. This bit, but this bit I don't really want to show at all. Really, I don't think. Probably need to bring this value down to the quince. I'm sort of I'm sneaking up on the values of the jug a little bit. Bit by bit, I don't want to go it steam straight in because I'm not sure if I want it to be too clearly realized. I think there's a kind of there's something that interests me metaphorically about areas of a painting that are unresolved. shadow. So, talking about uncertainty, I am feeling very uncertain about things at the moment because I'm about to. Yesterday, I started packing up my studio because we're moving house, and I work from home, So we're moving to an exceptionally lovely, slightly rundown but very beautiful farmhouse, big old rambling farmhouse in the countryside, in the Cotswolds. Huge place, weird kind of wonky floors and huge old black beams and odd little cubby holes where you don't expect them. An orchard full of apple trees next door. Just that's too dark. Just an amazing place. Very lucky to have found it. And it's owned by, we're going to be renting it, and it's owned by a charity which brings kids from kind of urban areas out into the countryside so that they can experience the open spaces and be around animals and like a forest school kind of thing. Charitable trust. And so I'm going to have a new studio, and there's some things that I are very excited about this new place. It's bigger. The studio is bigger. But I started packing up this studio yesterday, getting ready to move. Going to be over the next few days, and I became really, really sad. And I was trying to work out why, and I think it's because I've been in this studio for 6 years and I'm in love with the light in this room. I know it really well. And just the thought of losing that is, and the uncertainty that goes along with that is scary. It's scary. The new place is supposed to have much better, more stable and faster internet. I'll believe that when I see it. I hope it's the case. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do is I really want this to be like a new chapter. I've got a lot of ideas about where my work is going to go, the kind of things I'm going to teach. Be a little more brave, perhaps, with some of it, and less open to doubt. Allow myself to doubt myself less, and I have some ideas about where I want the work to go. So I'm thinking about that. This is going to be a new chapter, and I'm going to attempt, at least, trying to sort out this shape and get the values right. I'm going to attempt to stream as much as possible of the process of that live while I'm doing paintings, while I'm setting up the studio. This is my idea that I came up with the other day, that would be a really cool thing to do. So hopefully, this all being, if everything works out all right and the internet, it works as well as it's supposed to, I should be streaming an awful lot more. Not very kind of planned and organized streams, but just like a bit. I suppose I'm thinking about it as kind of a live diary, a little bit of this process of moving to a new studio and what it's going to be like. The light is very different now. I won't have north light anymore. I've got an east facing window and a west facing window. and a tiny, tiny, tiny north-facing window. But on the plus side, I have much more space. Place is just beautiful. The kids are going to get their own room. We're going to get a dog. We're getting a dog. I think Banjo, the studio cat, probably won't be all that pleased about that. Perhaps. But it's difficult, at the same time it's difficult. There is a lot of uncertainty about it. I love this space that I work in at the moment. I've been in here, as I say, for a long time, for 6 years. And it's going to be hard to let go of. It's like my refuge, my retreat. I don't know how you feel, like those of you out there who have your own space that you work in, I mean, I think the spaces that we work in there, it's almost like it becomes a part of you. I'm loving the depth that is, and interest and texture that's happening around here. I'm trying to decide what to do with the values here, whether I'm going to bring them down or keep them up higher than they really are. Probably keep them up. And although the color is gradually moving hue-wise slowly further back towards the actual color that you could say the real world is, it has this undertone of that blue green that I put down right at the beginning. It's still influencing everything, and I like that too. I'm getting to the point where I think I'm going to need to stop for a break soon and decide, make some decisions about what's going to happen next. Let's get a little bit of some cloth color. I want to try this. Just the mostly lead white, a small amount of black, and a little bit of that violet, just to send it a little bit towards. Yeah, that really changed things. That will really change things. It will. So what's interesting me most about this is this line. I don't want to try and paint any of the details of the creases or anything here until I have an idea of how this line is going to work, kind of compositionally. The division between the light and the shadow there. I think all I can safely say about this painting at the moment is that it's moved on a bit from where it was. I think I like where it's going. It's, as I say, it's reaching a point where I feel the need to leave it for a bit, to stand, to leave it to look at it for a while. I think probably actually that if everything works out with the internet, the next stage I do on this painting is going to be in the new studio. So who knows, it might go in a completely different direction, might really change things. Might not ever be finished, but I find something else I want to work on more. See, this part of the painting is suffering from indecision of what was in the original photo and what's in that one, and deciding what I want to work with the kind of the structure. Don't like that color there, don't like that black. Like that even less. Now it's kind of gone, has no texture, no life. And some interesting scrapes appearing there. There's a lot of texture in this now. Which is one of the things I've started adding a lot more of in my own paintings and started teaching as well. And I've been very encouraged by the changes that it's made. I've been trying to find ways for a long time to persuade people away from a kind of a very careful, small brush approach to painting like a version of the reference photo, and to bringing more life and texture. And this way of working has really helped a lot of people bring that in, I think. I just realised I've been painting for ages and not reading any of the comments. I'm very sorry. Let me catch up. Mary Jo says, what was the blue tube you chose? I used phthalocyanine blue, but a phthalo blue, basically. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, so Marion says, I kind of like this less is more lost and found around the handle. Yeah, it's the jug. I don't want the jug to be too kind of dominating. But I like this shape. I mean, the reason I've got the jug in the painting is this shape here. So I'm trying to make that kind of a feature, which means there's other bits that I don't want to be so strong. So I'm coming to the end of this session now. So what I usually do is I will just knock everything back a little bit. Whether I'll sand again or I'll just continue painting on the next session, I don't know yet. We'll spend a bit of time looking at this and deciding what I think it might want. It's come a long way back to being closer to the photo now, and maybe it's coming too close, and maybe I might want to pull it off in a different direction again next time round. See, one of the things that I've been doing a lot more lately is, even when a painting looks like it's approaching the finish, I don't think this one is yet, but it is still being open to doing drastic things, just to see, to open up some more possibilities and see where it might go. So it never actually gets to a point where it becomes a chore, where it becomes like I'm just going through a process, a mechanical process of finishing something. I really want to get away from that feeling now. There's way too much of that, isn't there? That whole shape is way too big. Thank you. Quiet is good. We get into that focus state where nothing but painting is important. We understand. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do feel the need to be kind of talking a lot of the time, so it doesn't get too boring, but I did completely zone out for a bit there. And I think when I'm kind of working like this, I tend to zone out a little bit more. That's nice. Michelle says, we'll miss the studio too. It's like a second home. What a lovely thing to say. I suppose it kind of has been, you know, I mean, you all know what the space is like. You see me moving around in here and seeing the windows and the light. So, but worry not, because I'm planning to stream not just painting in the new place, but, you know, setting it up, putting it together, like deciding where things go, you know, it's, thank you everybody. Everybody who's wishing me luck, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Natalie, you're very welcome. That's a lovely thing to say. Hello, Preeti. I'm sorry you've just joined us right at the end because I'm about to shut off the stream. We've been very lucky today. We've had a nice stable stream all the way through, so that's nice. Nothing dropped today, apart from when I kicked the painting over. See, things I like about this at the moment, I like this, so I'm probably going to really try and really bring this out. I like the texture and the indeterminate kind of color that's arriving here. I've lost the diagonal of the shadow, so I want to get that back. Why don't I do it now instead of talking about it? Just do it, Paul. Just put it back in. From up here. I'm going to put in where it is, and then I'm going to mess with it until I'm happy with where it sits. So it was very deliberate with this, with the setup as well, that I placed everything towards the bottom, because I like this kind of, this feeling of all the space above it and the light coming down in this diagonal line here. Don't apologize, Preeti, it's fine. Well, Jen says, congratulations on moving to the country. Maybe you be inspired by new light and many beautiful new things to paint. Thank you. I am actually already in the country though, and I'm only moving 15 minutes down the road. It's just a bit deeper into the countryside, you could say, I suppose, than where we are now. Should that be dark? Don't know. Listen, everybody, thank you very much for being patient with me while I experimented in front of you and tried to find a way for this painting to go. I think I'm much more at home with the colour now. I don't know what's next for this painting. The next one I'm going to work on some more is this one. Really beautiful rose that's been sitting for a while. I've been looking at it and thinking about what to do next. I think probably for this one, I'm just going to finish the actual rose because I like everything about this painting at the moment. This one is going in a direction I like. I think probably what I'm going to try next is to finish the quince and the leaves and this area, and maybe that's it. Maybe that will be all it needs, like just the light areas of the quince to be really finely finished with a lot of texture. And this is getting there to where I wanted it to be. The enameled inside of the pot is getting to where I want it to be. It's the bit that it draws my eye, and it was the bit that drew my eye in the setup as well. So, and I kind of like the fact that this is all, a lot of it is kind of vague shapes, and I haven't painted any things. I've painted light and shadow shapes. That's something that I like as well very much. Thank you, Preeti. That's a very nice thing to say. Skip out of work and paint. Totally. Just do it. Just do it. Listen, thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to wrap up now. I don't know when I'm going to be next on, because we're actually moving boxes from tomorrow. I'm going to try and get on as much as I can. As soon as I've got the internet running in the new place, I'm going to get the camera set up and I'm going to start streaming and talking about what I'm doing. Not all of it will be painting. So, you know, feel free to email me if you just go, Paul, what you're doing, this is incredibly boring. I just want to see you paint. That's fine. But I'm going to be, hopefully anyway, online a lot more, assuming the internet works in the new place. So anyway, thank you very, very much, everybody, for coming along. It was a pleasure to paint for you. And I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.